This is a video review for the National Reading for Children Center of the children's middle grade novel When the Crickets Stop Singing by Marilyn Cram Donahue. And usually I do picture book reviews here as video reviews, but I just thought I'd do a video review of this one because I was just totally enchanted with this book for a number of reasons, and I really want to sort of help other people see why it would be a good choice for them. For their children to read, or their grandchildren, or their students. And a couple of things: it's got a nice dust jacket on it, but as books tend to do for older kids, you take the book jacket off and it doesn't have that pretty cover, so I really like the cover on the dust jacket. But it's a nice book, not too thick, not too big, so it won't be intimidating. And Angie is out playing on the sidewalk, or something that, yeah, Messina, California, out playing on the sidewalk, and it's just a really hot day, and she sees this little girl and this boy across the street who she realizes are going to be her new neighbors. So one of the things it does kind of during this first chapter, where it introduces you to the little place where she's living, is it lets you kind of get an idea, and children who live in today's world really don't have much of an idea of what did kids do for fun back in 1939, particularly if they lived in a little town like Messina, California. And so this lets you really see how it was, but not only see, because Marilyn Donahue, the author, does a great job of using such a wide variety of sensory details that really take us to that place. We can feel how hot it was. We can hear how hot it was, which you might think, how do you hear how hot it was? We can see how hot it was on this particular day. So I'll just give you a little taste of what it's like. It said it was so hot outside, the dogs quit panting. They just rolled over, lay quiet, and let their tongues hang out. Now that's pretty dang hot when the dogs aren't even panting anymore. My brother Eddie cracked an egg and fried it on the sidewalk. And you always hear about that, so it really must have been hot. Mr. Abbott the mailman collapsed on Palm Avenue right in front of Dodie Crumper's house, where I never slowed down if I could help it. The weather report said more of the same, which was no different from what we all expected, it being the middle of June. And then she tells you about she's lying on her stomach on the front room floor because it's the coolest place in the house. They're underneath the big apricot tree where, it's got leafy branches, that kind of thing. And she talks about the fan blowing from side to side, and just the scenes and the smells and just all kinds of stuff here. And then when she introduces her characters, they all have a real strong voice based on their dialogue. So that's what I like too. You could listen to one of the characters speak and you knew kind of right away who it was. So one thing, it is a little slow moving at the beginning because she is kind of pulling the reader into that world. But I think once kids get into it, they will just want to keep reading to see what happens, to find out what happens, because it is sort of there's something going on with one of the neighbors. This man, Mr. Clement, who's returned from the war, and then also another man that all the people seem to like in town, but the girls and their mothers and some of the other women in town don't seem to trust this guy. So it kind of handles the sort of delicate subject of sexual predators in such a way that readers reading this really you can kind of almost feel your skin crawl when this man is just watching these girls. They're just, in one scene, they're out in the yard in their bathing suits, and they look up and they see him watching them with his binoculars. And so you just can, kind of see how they would feel. And then these girls kind of go through some different things in here. Something happens with one of the new friends that Angie makes, and the girls just kind of solve their own problem. But it's really a nice book in terms of giving you things that you could talk about in a classroom. You could talk about with your children. Let's say if parents read the book and then the child reads it later. I think that's always a good way to study books, is to kind of set up a dialogue about them, because one thing we fail to recognize sometime about literacy, it's not just reading and writing, but true literacy is reading, writing, and being able to talk about the things that we read and write. So I think this would be a good book for that. It would be great for the homeschool classroom, or even the social studies classroom, to just find out, what was it like in 1939 in the United States. See what you can kind of pull out from this book to get an overall feel of what was it like. And then it also has a parallel to what's going on in their little town with what's going on in the bigger world with Hitler. So I thought that was really clever the way she did that too. So I would highly recommend this book, middle grade novel, When the Crickets Stop Singing by Marilyn Cram Donahue. Also, I was fortunate to be able to interview Marilyn for my site at writebythesea.com. So if you go to writebythesea.com, and write is W-R-I-T-E, by thesea.com, look at the top menu bar where it says author interviews, and you'll see I did a 3-part interview with Marilyn. So if you're a children's book author or aspiring children's book author, she gives some tips in those interviews on creating such strong dialogue, creating a voice for your characters and for your story, your author voice. Also, how to make things come to life, scenes and places come to life. So just stop by there and read that as well. But overall, I highly recommend this book, and I think you and your children and your students and grandkids will really enjoy reading it.